We are back again, 104.5 ESPN, T-Bob and Jacob Hester. Should the Saints fans be worried about the future? Now, full disclosure, this was recorded, as far as their video, was recorded before the 24-0 Raiders victory. So I'm assuming a lot of this will be doom and gloom and will not be a lot of hype coming off of that win. So I'm going to kind of give you both as I review. I will give you my thoughts of what they're saying in their real time, and then my thoughts right now coming off of the Raiders win before the Raiders Monday Night Football game. I hope that made sense. Made sense in my head, not so much out of my mouth.
I'm talking big picture. What do you feel good about going into the future right now? At a time when you're seeing other teams reset and you're now 2-5 and you don't have a first round pick and you have assets that could get you picks. But you're in but where it gets awkward is you're in Dennis Allen year one, right?
Okay. To answer the question, I feel good about Chris Olave. I feel good about Alvin Kamara. And Pete Werner. I feel good about Pete Werner. As far as that, or besides that, not much, right? Big picture wise, if you're really looking out, like where the Saints are going, the Saints are in a slow rebuild, I think. I think they're in a slow reset. And you can't blame the Saints, right? You cannot blame a team for losing the greatest coach in franchise history, the greatest quarterback in franchise history, arguably the greatest wide receiver in franchise history, certainly who had the best season in franchise history, and Michael Thomas, who will probably never play another game for the Saints. You're losing generational talent defensively, all right? You're not losing them, but Cam Jordan's getting older. He's probably the best defensive player the franchise has ever had. Marshawn Lattimore's getting older, or you're getting deeper into his career. So how long will he be able to play at a high level? There's a lot of change. Demario Davis is one of the best linebackers in the NFL, but again, you're getting deeper into his age, into his career. There's a lot of change right now in New Orleans, and I think we haven't officially reset. You will see the reset once Dennis Allen goes, once Carmichael goes, once we get our new quarterback. This happens, okay? This happens. You look at other teams in the NFL who have been doing this shit for 10 years, who've been quote unquote rebuilding or resetting for a long time. Look at the Bears. How many times have the Bears reset since they were relevant, since they were going to NFC Championship games and going to the Super Bowl? How many times have they reset with a quarterback? They reset with Jay Cutler. They reset with Justin Fields. They reset with coaches. They reset with general managers. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't. You don't always swing from really good to reset to really good. Sometimes the reset doesn't work. Sometimes you have to go through a couple quarterbacks, go through a couple head coaches, go through a couple drafts or whatever to do that. The Saints haven't even hit the reset button. They haven't even really done that. This is to me, I've said this before here, I think that Loomis is leaving the door open for Sean Payton to come back. I think that's a real conversation right now. I think if Sean Payton comes back, I could see them wiggling their way back into the first round and targeting a quarterback that he wants, or going and getting a free agent quarterback. I could see that. Now, let's say Payton goes to Dallas. I think Sean Payton will be coaching next year in the NFL. But let's say he goes to Dallas or wherever. Then I think you'll see a reset of the coaching staff and all that. There's no way the Saints can go Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael again into next year with Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston or whoever. They have to start resetting because this team has pieces, but they do not have enough pieces to be a legitimate playoff team or a legitimate threat, which is what you want to be.
Right? And the Saints pride themselves on not being too reactive. They pride themselves on operating in a Steelers-like environment where they want to let things play out over time and not panic when things start to go awry. It's why they never even messed with moving on from Sean Payton when, what do you have, 7-9, 3 out of 4 years?
Here's another Here's like, you ever heard the phrase that winning is the greatest Band-Aid or whatever the statement is? Winning is the greatest cover-up. The Steelers can be non-reactive. The Steelers can chill. The Saints could chill when you had Drew Brees for 10 years, when you had Ben Roethlisberger for 15 years, right? When you had those pieces, there's no reason to be reactive. The Saints don't have that anymore. The Saints do not have Drew Brees. They don't even have like a young quarterback. They have Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston. The Saints have to be reactive, or really they had to be proactive to go get that quarterback. Now, there's a lot of ways you can do that. Like, you can wait. You know, if I was in the front office, which, man, the Saints would be in such a better spot if I was in the front office. If you're looking at the quarterback class for next year, all right, if you're looking at the quarterback class for next year and you're thinking we don't have a first, but we like Grayson McCall, okay, from Coastal Carolina. If you're thinking we can get Grayson McCall in the second or third and we can let him take a crack at this. We can let him, you know, develop a little bit. We can bring Andy back, start Andy for 6 games or something like that, and then let Grayson start to play. And I'm really moving some pieces here. But then that's like an attempt at a reset. Because then if you find your guy, if you find, you know, a la Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was what, a 3rd round pick? If you find Jalen Hurts was a 2nd or 3rd round pick, I think it was a 2nd round pick. If you find your guy, doesn't have to be a 1st rounder. People get that messed up too. People think that you can only find a franchise quarterback in the 1st round. Not true. Does not happen like that. How many people would rather have Jalen Hurts than Mac Jones? How many people would rather have Jalen Hurts than Trey Lance, right? How many people would rather have Jalen Hurts than Trevor Lawrence? How many people would rather have a lot of players than Trevor Lawrence? And Trevor Lawrence was a can't-miss generational 1st round pick. We heard the comparisons to Andrew Luck. Doesn't work like that, okay? So I think the Saints should be looking at that reset first. Can we do something? Can we have a path to a reset without maneuvering into the 1st round? I understand if you're like, look, we need to get Will Levis. We need to get Bryce Young. We need to get CJ Stroud, whatever. But moving up from 0 or from not having a 1st round pick to a top 10 pick is a lot. Then you're leveraging assets that would help you win to do that. You're leveraging your Marshawn Lattimores. You're leveraging your Michael Thomases. You're leveraging your future draft picks to do that. You're hurting yourself in the long run unless you knock it out of the park. But if you bust, you know, which, hey, is a family show. But if you mess that pick up after leveraging all that stuff, which draft busts happen all the time, okay? Even things that we think were surefire wins, like Mac Jones. After you watch Mac Jones in the 1st year, you're thinking, damn, the Patriots did it again. How the pendulum swings. We're not even halfway through the 2nd season of Mac Jones, and people are calling for Bailey Zappi. Okay? Let me ask you that, Jacksonville. Would you rather have Trevor Lawrence or Bailey Zappi?
So, yeah, I don't think they are seriously entertaining it, and maybe I'm being a bit reactive. Or you tell me if I'm being reactive. I think these are legitimate conversations to have. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have a head coach. You don't have a 1st round pick. You have assets that people want, and they're at an age where you got to ask yourself, how close are we able to being, you know, how close are we to being able to take advantage of these assets, right? Like Alvin Kamara remains great. Are you going to be able to put a team together behind Kamara to make him relevant, to put him on the stage that he should?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm looking in my mind as you're talking, I'm going over like position by position and where do you feel good if you're the Saints? And a receiver, if Michael Thomas was on the field,
He's not, and he never will be again. And if he does, he'll never be the player he was again. Okay, so I mean, that's Chris Olave, I think, is a legitimate, young, good starting receiver. Is he like, you know, am I ready to say Chris Olave is a top 10 receiver for the future? I don't know if he'll ever be that, but he's good. He is a good receiver. You're not receiver-less. You're not asset-less there. You know, you can always find like a 2nd receiver or a 3rd receiver from free agency or what, you know, I'm not worried about receiver. I think receiver is one of the last things you should worry about, because you have to have a quarterback that can throw the ball. You got to have an offensive line that can protect the quarterback to throw the ball. You got to have a running back that can take some heat off of your offensive line. Obviously, if you don't have a running game, people are just, you know, they're looking for the pass. So my first step, if I'm them and I'm talking about like long-term future, my first step is to find that coach. Who is my coach? Who is my Mike McDaniel? Who is my Kyle Shanahan? Who is my Sean McVay even? Who is my guy who's going to come in with their system and reset this team? Because if you're going to trot Dennis Allen out there, you might as well not even try and reset. You might as well not even try. Dennis Allen, look, say what you want, okay? Dennis Allen is not the guy you want who's going to have to reset with a young quarterback and develop a young quarterback and young assets to build this team. He's a defensive-minded coach. He's an old-school coach. He should be the defensive coordinator. Pete Carmichael has been riding this Drew Brees coattail forever. That ain't the move. I would not trust Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael to develop a Bryce Young, a Will Levis, a Grayson McCall. I would much rather you take a chance on a coach like Lane Kiffin or a coach like that. Take a chance with him. Let him get his guy. Let him get his system in. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then you reset again. I am much more likely to hit the reset button over and over and over and over until I get my fit. I don't understand how some teams sit in mediocrity, like Houston, like the Texans. I don't understand how the Texans can sit where they're sitting and say, we need Lovie Smith. That's who we need to develop this team, is Lovie Smith. How is that even possible? Take a chance. These teams that sit in mediocrity, that's why they sit in mediocrity. Because they say, oh, let's go get Ron Rivera. Let's go get Lovie Smith. Let's go get, that's not what you need. That's not how it works anymore. You need creativity. You need a system. You need a guy who knows what he's doing and believes in what he's doing and can get the personnel to do it. We have an active general manager in Mickey Loomis who can go get those pieces. We have to have a coach with a system, with an idea, with a plan who can develop young players, because we need to rely on young players for the next chapter of what the Saints are.
Feel good about receiver because you have Olave, even with Jarvis being on a one-year deal, and you have some secondary pieces that fill in nicely. I think, 4 or 5 receiver. I think you have some nice pieces there. Tight end, you don't feel great about that. Troutman is obviously injured right now. He's had flashes. Taysom, I don't consider him a tight end. Quarterback, it's pieced together right now. Running back.
You have Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston at quarterback.
Yeah.
You don't have a quarterback.
You don't have one in the future right now.
I thought Jameis could be that guy. He's not that guy.
Alvin
I never did. I was right 100% of the time.
Kamara at the running back position, but then, Mark Ingram, although, I still think he has something left. How much is left? And you don't have anything behind him there as far as like a young up-and-coming someone that you feel good about. You go over
Cam Jordan. Feel awful about Davenport and Turner.
And like
David Onyemata needs to get back on the PEDs.
Offensive line.
T-Bob is letting it go. T-Bob is pissed. This must have been like right after the Cardinals game. He is pissed. This is a downtrodden man. This is a downtrodden hombre right here.
It's like, okay, well, what's Penning going to do? If you get Penning and then you have Penning, McCoy, Ramczyk, that's pretty good. Pretty good foundation there.
That's true. But even Ramczyk is at that age where if you're hitting reset, that's a very valuable resource that people would give you a lot for. It's just, again, guys, I know I'm being a bit reactive, but it feels very bad right now. And as we've said,
I think because, it's a conversation of the future. You have a lot of aging talent, still can help you win games.
And they went all in on this year, like thinking that they were going to.
I don't think they did. I really don't think they did. I know a lot of people. I had this conversation all off season where I was, I'd talk about the Saints or whatever, and people were like, yeah, this is a 10, 11, 12 win team. I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm looking at Jameis Winston. I'm looking at what the hell are y'all talking about? How? I said it. I came on here, and I said if the Saints win, I have in text, I said if the Saints win 10-plus games with Jameis Winston, I will eat my foot on camera. I will live stream me eating my own foot. And look where we are now. The Saints, you can't say a team is all in when they go into the season with Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston. You can't, that's not the case. Denver went all in. Denver gave Russell Wilson $250 million. Denver went all in. The Buccaneers are all in, right? Like, it's impossible to say, like the Falcons. Like, the Falcons didn't go all in. they have Marcus Mariota. They're a good story. They're playing well. You can't go all in with a quarterback like Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton. And the same shit's going to happen next year if we do this again. If we say, oh, well, we have Andy Dalton and, this and this. Like, you need... We're not... The sad part is, with how depressed T-Bob is right here, we haven't even hit the reset. And if he's concerned about, what it feels like, the pieces that they're talking about, Hester and, he was laying out the pieces, those are leftover pieces from Christmas past. Those are leftover pieces from when the Saints were really good. You're naming the same people, right? You're naming old players. Cam Jordan. You're naming Jarvis Landry. Oh, that's a 1-year old player. He's gone. You're naming the same offensive line that's been there. You haven't even seen the reset. Now, I will say how T-Bob was talking about Ryan Ramczyk. I don't think that it's a good idea to trade valuable young assets or valuable pieces to go get what you perceive as valuable pieces, because then you're just trading one for another, unless you're making a move for like a quarterback or something. But I don't think we're there. I don't think we're ready to trade away our good pieces, the Olaves, the Ramczyks, the Lattimores, the whatever. I think you'd rather, or a Kamara. I don't think you're not there yet. You're not there to do that. I think you give this core, if it was me, I know I'm just kind of resetting this, but if it was me, I wouldn't be looking at the roster at all as far as like, who am I going to trade? Who am I going to ship? What am I going to do? I would just look at, okay, this is what I have right now. What coach do I want? And what quarterback do I want? Do I want to go try and get a free agent? Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson's an option. You could have the conversation of offensive coordinator, where you go get like Greg Nolan or something like that. Is it Greg Nolan or Greg Roman? I always get that mixed up. It's Greg Roman, ladies and gentlemen, not Nolan. Greg Roman. Okay, the offensive coordinator for the Ravens. So let's say you say, all right, Lamar's a free agent. Roman's the offensive coordinator. What if we brought in him as the head coach and went and signed Lamar? Then no reset needed. Then you're all in. You are all in that situation, right? So there's a lot of different avenues you can take. A lot of different ways you can do that. Or you can go the route that I said of, let's try and nail our 3rd round draft pick. Let's try and nail a 2nd round draft pick or whatever. And let's try and find a diamond in the rough quarterback. Let's try and get someone like, let's go look at the big board right now for quarterbacks. All right, so this is NFLDraftBuzz.com. Who knows how right this stuff is? So let's take a look at where they're going, okay? So you got Stroud, Young, Levis. These will for sure be first rounders. I would assume Hendon Hooker will probably be in that first round. If you drop it down a little bit, right? If you feel like you can do something, I mean these guys are terrible. But if you feel like you can do something with a Grayson McCall, a Dylan Gabriel, a Sam Hartman, someone like that, I mean, I would not be sad at all if Sam Hartman, Grayson McCall was a 2nd round, 3rd round pick, somewhere in there, and the Saints said, look, we're going to slowly bring this guy up, and we're going to see what he can do. Versus, I would much rather that versus saying we're going to trade away Ryan Ramczyk and Marshawn Lattimore and Michael Thomas and future picks to go try and get Will Levis. I mean, that's just me.
Be able to win this year, right? That was the whole idea behind giving up the 1st round pick for Chris Olave was, what does it matter if you give up the 27th pick, the 26th pick in the draft? Like, is there really that much of a functional difference between that and, the 2nd round pick? No, but where there is a functional difference is where the Saints sits right now, where you're talking about a top 5 pick. Then now you're giving to an undefeated Philadelphia Eagle team.
Ooh.
Like,
and you've done that so many times in the past because you weren't a bad team, and you're like, look, I'm going to be picking 26th anyways.
That's what I'm saying.
So it worked out for you in years past.
Does Howie Roseman have blackmail on Mickey Loomis, do y'all think? Does he have new?
I mean, we definitely made we definitely made the Eagles better with CJ and the first round pick and all that stuff. But I mean, I think we've knocked out the future of the Saints here. I mean, the future, as long as we are proactive, like as long as we do something, if we reset this season with next season, if we say let's give Jameis another chance, let's give Andy another chance, a full season, let's give Dennis Allen a full season. If we do that shit, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be a bad couple of years. We have to do something this offseason. It starts with the head coach. It starts with a plan for a quarterback. I don't want to see anything else. I don't want to see us try out some old backup. I don't want to see any of that stuff. All right, I don't want to see us go get Drew Lock and give Drew Lock a chance. We're not the island of misfit toys. We have to do what Miami did. That's what I want to see. I want to see us go get a promising head coach, young head coach, a new head coach, not some Mike McCarthy retread. I don't want some old coach. I don't want Vic Fangio. Okay? And I like Vic Fangio. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Doug Peterson. I don't want to see Ron Rivera. Do not want that. Go get the Dayballs. Go get the McDaniels. Go get those guys. Go get take a chance on a quarterback. That's the future of the Saints, not the shit that we did this year.